Hello, fans. This is Kimberly and Conor Tracy here with Take Two.
Part two.
Take two of our video. As you guys know, we have been testing out different equipments, different technologies to try and figure out how to be able to come to people in different mediums, if that makes sense. So bear with us. This is Take Two, so hopefully you can hear us and it's not lagging. Casey, if you can let us know if you can see us and hear us, and maybe we don't have that robot like disc thing going on.
So I blame the internet connection that we have. So,
we don't say who it is. Don't say who it is.
Yeah.
And it's not always the internet, right? Sometimes like things just have a rough time. It is Friday. Oh, yay, it's working. Okay, cool.
Thanks, Casey.
Okay, cool. So let's dive right in. How has your week been? I kind of threw a lot of shit your way this week. So how is it?
Yeah, the week's been good. So as Kim said, we've been testing a bunch of different technology, and I've been learning all sorts of new things with cameras and video configurations and OBS, which is a studio software, and running through everything, and then come to find out that here we go, we do a live. My tests work just fine, not a problem. But here we go live, and it's the internet connection slowing me down.
It's cool. And you had a lot of other stuff going on, too. Like, this was the fun stuff, right, for you to be able to recharge. But what was some of the other stuff?
Yeah, this was the break away from everything, from the nightmare of everything else that was happening.
Nightmare. Aw, it makes it sound so... You love those challenges. He makes it sound like it's so bad.
Yeah, Google had, again, we talked, this is like week number 3 or 4 that I'm talking about this medic update that happened early in August.
It's not a medic, though. Remember that?
It's not called, well, it's still called medic by everybody, so let's just call it medic and be done.
Okay.
But basically, a second version of that has come out. So again, around the 29th of this month, so somewhere during that week, another big update has come out by Google, and it's just slapping websites. From my own stuff that I'm seeing on it, from what I can tell, some of the links that are pointing to websites, if they're coming from websites that do not have an SSL certificate, those appear to either getting dropped or not getting the value or something like that is going on. So there's something in there happening. I don't know quite yet what it is, but there's something in there that's happening. So if your website is not already secure, get it secure. That's going to help other people. And if you have links coming from other places and they're friends of yours, ask them to get an SSL certificate too. It's better for security anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just helps the end user too. Like, a lot of people are kind of suspicious when they get online. Do they trust it? Do they not trust it? We get emails all week from people of, is this a real email? Is it not? Should I click the link that's in the email? Oh, gosh, I clicked it. Like, I shouldn't have clicked it.
Right.
So, I think it's important to make sure that if your website doesn't already have an SSL, that you get that taken care of. If you need help, just reach out to us. But if you don't get it taken care of, your end users are going to experience that, and that's not going to be a good feeling at all. So what's been your favorite part of this week so far?
As much as the camera stuff has been a nightmare for me, it's actually been okay. My only issue with it is that I went to too many stores trying to get a cable, trying to get, you might get a box from Walmart, but that doesn't have the USB-C connection. Now you got to go to Target and Best Buy and Nebraska Furniture Mart, and I'm literally all over town. I spent hours just driving around.
And you also tried to order it online, but unfortunately it wouldn't ship, and so there was like a whole thing around that too.
So we ordered from through Amazon. So one of the people that are at Amazon, whoever has an Amazon store, and they said guaranteed shipping, that if you buy it by within the next 5 hours or something like that, then you would have it by Wednesday. I'm like, okay, by Wednesday, that would be great. And then the next morning, Tuesday, I guess, comes around, and they're like, well, we'll send it until Thursday. I'm like, okay, Thursday, all right.
That's good.
And then the next day we get another email. It won't ship until the day after. I'm like, screw it. Cancel the order, be done with it. Let's start over.
The really cool thing about watching you this week is, even with this new technology and trying to learn it and something new, and you already do a lot of research and learning already, it's been really cool seeing this like new energy come through you, because you have like a new tool, a new trait, a new thing, which we had talked about for our business. We're doing it internally for ourselves. ourselves and just for our clientele.
Yep.
But then now it's becoming more of a hobby for you. So it kind of like takes you into a totally different area than research and design and
It does.
SEO and all that jazz. So it's been kind of cool watching you do that and still rock your week too, because you've had a pretty stacked week of work and projects and,
Yeah.
you know, me bringing in what I bring in.
We've had a handful of different audits that we've been doing,
Yeah.
and both from a competition level and from a website level.
Yeah.
So the competition audits are always interesting because you're finding out what somebody else's business is doing.
Yeah.
So see what they're doing right, see what they're doing wrong, and then replicate the good stuff and then exploit the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So by exploit, I mean you're going to do something to capitalize on it so that you get a better result.
Yeah, and or completely avoid it, because sometimes people do things that are not in the best light for an industry, and so sometimes those types of audits is good to see and just be like, I don't even want to go there or do
Yep.
that. Instead, go completely opposite.
Definitely.
So yeah, I would say like this time of year we wind up getting a lot of the audits and the looking into the research and the data of industries. One, I think it's the trend of schools going back in session, right? So the kids are going back into school. The parents have a little bit more time. But believe it or not, and a lot of people probably don't realize this, we have a lot more businesses that launch this time frame all the way through to Christmas. They just decide, hey, I want to live my dream. I want to launch my business. How do I go about doing that? And figuring that out. So that's been pretty cool, like watching. One situation that happened this week that kind of popped out at me was there was actually a business that reached out to us like 2 or 3 years ago, right? They asked for a free audit. We gave them a free audit. They came back and asked for a couple other ones, and so forth. And we provided some tips and some recommendations. It just didn't go anywhere, right? Sometimes we have those where they just kind of fizzle out. They figure out their own solution.
Yeah, the timing isn't right, the money isn't right
Yeah.
at the right time, or
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
their business might be exploding or whatnot.
Yeah,
so.
and so they came back again, and we finally had this new conversation. And upon looking at the newest research, we found that they actually redesigned their website. And whenever they went to redesign their website, they tried to apply several different techniques that we had said and suggestions that we had said. But unfortunately, they actually damaged themselves more. The reason why they were calling us was because they lost all traffic to their website, and they actually hurt themselves with the existing website design.
Sure.
So I actually wanted to take a quick second and kind of chit chat about that, because a lot of times people want to bring their actual website design in-house to try and save money, maybe try to save time, right? Maybe they have time on their hands. We have a lot of clients that really truly enjoy building their own design
Yep.
and putting it together. We actually did a website training today for one, but there's like some key areas in SEO and the processes that you've got to be careful and watch, especially with the site builders, right? It's because the site builders can make it look like it's all easy, drag and drop and click and all this shenanigans, but those are more appealing to the end users, I would say, and
Yep.
more the visual aspects, and not necessarily the search engines, and giving the search engines what I would call is food for them to grow your online authority, as well as food to grow your online presence, right?
Yep.
So really quickly, without diving too far deep, if somebody is doing their website design and they're redesigning, what are the top 2 things that you would recommend for them to pay attention to that maybe they don't even think of? Like they're going from design A to maybe they're scaling down or
Sure.
scaling back, or maybe they're exploding and they're adding more content and images and so forth. So what is 2 things that
I
would
think
help?
the big thing on it is, you know, the content that's on the page as it is. Don't just go through and hit delete on all the content
Yeah.
and then
Blah, 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 blah.
then rewrite it.
Yeah.
Generally, when you do that, you're removing parts that the search engine has already picked up on and
Right.
wants.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you are an Omaha tire company, for example, you sell
You sell rubber.
you sell rubber. There we go. But basically, you know, you might have had all the content in there that that you're selling tires for cars.
Yeah.
And that's all wonderful. And now you've decided, well, we don't really want to do tires as such. Maybe we'll just say that, yeah, it's tires, but instead of cars, it's vehicles
Yeah.
and it's autos.
Yeah.
it changes the entire thing of how Google operates at that point.
Sometimes search engines are smart enough to figure that out, but it still does make an impression. So like vehicles may not get any searches at all. People might actually type in automotive or car or something else. So that's kind of more what Connor's talking about.
Yeah.
So you would say definitely don't butcher the current content.
Definitely. And sometimes there's content in there, like for example, the word Omaha, so you've got the city in there.
Yeah.
Well, maybe now they're serving Elkhorn. So Elkhorn's 20 minutes down the road here. So they decide, well, we'll just go ahead and get rid of Omaha in the middle of it and just leave it as car tires or tires for cars.
Gotcha, yeah.
But they've now isolated the content that Google was picking up on. There's other things with adjectives and how that affects search engines, but that's definitely a video for YouTube.
Yeah.
You can go over there and I'll probably do a video on that. But I think initially the content's going to be the big thing. Make sure you don't butcher that. And then probably the other change, it's not really a change, but just verification that you've got your contact information on the page.
Yeah. So I would say that. The other thing that we see that happens a lot, and it's kind of because it falls into a technical side, is 301 redirects. So say you have a website and it's like 10 pages and you decide to scale back and you do 3, right? And you just decide, I'm not going to transfer that content over. It's done. It's over. No big deal. So if you do that, what happens is all your old content's been indexed by search engines. And if you did the content right, you're probably getting pretty good rankings, or they at least know.
And you're getting links from other places that have referred to you.
So like if you scale back, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there is a technique that needs to happen. So if somebody bookmarked your website, or if you have links somewhere, or you're in a certain place, or somebody might have even featured you in their blog and you just don't even know about it, right? And somebody goes to click on your link. If you don't fix that redirect, they're going to get a 404 error on your website, which is never a fun feeling. I know whenever I'm searching and researching something, if I'm looking for an answer and I land on a blog and I get a 404, I'm like, for the love of cheese, no. So like I would think 301 redirects are very, very important.
Redirects are. It probably almost more important than the content itself.
I mean, I don't know if there's one that's better than the other. Those are the two areas that we see the most hiccups, right? What I would recommend is before you take a design from A to B, I would look at your design statistics in Google Analytics and find out what pages are actually being visited,
Definitely.
right? Like, is it your about page? Is it your services page? Maybe you have a page in there like blog that's never been visited before ever, right? So there's multiple different ways to kind of look at that path. Like this week when we did reports for a client, we went through and we found that we were actually, it was the first time we've been like super shocked by looking at, oh my gosh, this is the path that people take. Like we wouldn't even have guessed that they would land on this page first and then this page and then this page.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
For this particular client, the way people were coming in was just odd.
Yeah.
But
it was cool because then we could build an advantage with it, right? But the thing is like there's certain aspects and tools and research that you have access to. So if you're getting a massive amount of hits on a page and you're like, I'm never really selling this, but I'm getting some visits on it, I would not recommend deleting that page.
Right.
Instead, figure out a way to remodel it, maybe change how you're selling it or pitching it or give it exposure. Believe it or not, people just put the stuff up on the web and then they just expect to build it and they'll come, and unfortunately that's not how it works.
Yeah, not usually.
Not usually. I mean, sometimes, if you I don't know if it ever really does. You have to do some form of work behind the scenes of somewhere.
Well, there's work involved, but it's you're not actively out there promoting it.
Correct. You're not out there with a billboard. You're like, come
the
find
search
me
engines
the spinning ones.
Yeah, the search engines will pick that up after a while, but it's always better to have an actual campaign of whatever it is that you're trying to drive the traffic. So
that was a couple different things. Something that
before you go forward, you were talking about the analytics, and you have access to that. Same thing with any of the newsletter software. So if you're using MailChimp or you're using Majordomo or what's the other, Constant Contact, those are kind of the big ones that are out there. There's a number of different ones, but
Sure.
those are the big ones that are there. They actually have their own analytics inside the back end.
Yep.
So you can find out how often somebody is opening up the emails. Are they clicking on the links? Are they actually going to your website? And
Right.
then your analytics can tell you, are people reading your newsletter?
Right.
Is it
Yeah.
worth posting your stuff on LinkedIn?
It's worth looking into for sure.
That'll at least give you an idea then of what is actually working. Is the summer campaign that you're running better? Is that actually needed? Did you lose money as a result? So, but all that analytics in there, that's
And
all
here's
the
the
stuff.
deal is I don't think that you need to dive deep into hours worth of research.
No.
Just take a peek at it. Try not to get emotional or whatever about it, right? It is what it is. Figure out if it's not where you want it to be, how to improve it. But one thing that I've noticed, and this has been like a couple months in the making. So when we have client meetings and we're face to face with them, we help them with the SEO and the Google AdWords and the website design, but we also create kind of a space for them to ask anything and everything. So if we know the answer, we'll give them the answer. If we don't know the answer, sometimes we'll research it because we know it'll help somebody else. But the point of me bringing this up is that if you are doing any form of marketing, don't make assumptions that it's successful or not successful. Go out and do a little bit of research. So here's the context of what I'm talking about. I had a company, they sent out a newsletter, and because they didn't get any sales, they thought that they were actually doing horribly bad, right? They thought that, oh gosh, like our conversion rate is only 37% for a newsletter, and that is freaking huge for a newsletter.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like I just quickly did a Google search of, hey, what is the conversion rate or the open rate for a newsletter for this specific industry, and me sharing with them that, hey, you're like 3 times the actual average of what an opened newsletter would normally be, right? So at that point, what I did was I actually helped them problem solve and figure out the solution of, was it the wording that needed to change? They didn't actually have a call to action in their newsletter. So it was more of a, hey, here's the story, we want you to read it. Okay, cool, see you later, bye, close the door, I'm out, right?
Sure.
And so people sometimes, if they don't have clarity and they don't know what the next steps are that you want them to take, they'll just kind of bounce out and check out and they won't take action, right? So when you're doing any form of marketing, try to figure out what the baseline is. You don't have to be an expert at it, but figure out what the baseline is, or worst case, track where you're starting, right? So like maybe your first newsletter, you get like 7% open rate. Well, maybe your second one, you get like 78% open rate.
Right.
Maybe the next one, 35. And then see what the difference was between the 3, if that makes sense,
Most
and how you
times-
can replicate it.
Yeah, most times that open rate is greatly dependent on the subject that you use for your newsletter.
I mean,
if you just
yeah.
send out July newsletter and there's nothing in there to captivate me to open it up,
Yeah.
it's going to go on the back burner until I get some time to open
Well,
it up.
and here's the
But-
deal is, and that's definitely your personality. I know a lot of businesses that have a good following. Like they just genuinely do what they do really well, and people support them and follow them. So like they're willing to open a newsletter that says September newsletter because they know that the stuff inside of it's going to add value, it's going to educate, it's going to help them take something to the next level, right? So sometimes the title can definitely help.
Yeah.
Other times it doesn't have to be super fancy. Like I wouldn't get stuck on trying to figure out what the catchphrase is to get people
definitely,
in, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
And again, it's good is better than not done
Yeah,
at all.
yeah.
So just do something. I'm not saying do the bare minimum and call that okay, I'll check that off the list.
Yeah.
That's how I used to clean my room when I was a kid. Do the bare minimum, shove everything else under the bed. Look, my room is clean. That doesn't work in business.
Yeah.
You've got to actually do something more than that.
I remember one time, this is going to be a shame story. I remember one time.
I think I'm just going to cover up the camera.
No.
Close
This is
the
so
mic.
good. It's so good. I remember one time we were going to have a party. We actually had a Halloween party. And instead of cleaning the entire house, we threw everything in one room.
Yep.
Like it was stacked to the nines with clothes and baskets. And I don't even know what all was in there. It was like a
Everything.
catch-all room.
Yep. Well,
And
even-
somebody was like, hey, can I put my purse in this room? And I was like, oh
No!
my God. They're going into the room of the catch-all. We don't do that anymore. We got caught. We got caught in the catch-all. The rest of the house was amazing.
Yeah.
Like amazing. So
now if I'm asked to go clean anything, generally I'm walking around with a black plastic bag, and anything that goes into it is going out on the curb. So
I scaled down a lot with our stuff.
So did I. I've gone from 3 closets down to 1.
Yeah. So one other thing that I wanted to quickly chat with business owners about in general, whether you're working from home or you're working at an office or you're around a team or not, it's really important for you every once in a while to change up your environment and work in a different environment and or change your hours around. And here's the reason why. I'm hearing a lot of people say that they're in mode of procrastination. If you're in Omaha, Nebraska, it's been kind of cloudy and a little cold, so people maybe they're not as motivated as they normally are. There's been a lot of people that just feel like they have a lot on their plate and they can't get stuff done and get them processed fast enough, so they go into that moment of overwhelm, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And then I have a couple friends that are actually experiencing like a lack of creativity, right? They're just like, they're normally super creative and they can't figure this out. One of our recommendations is to just take off a weird set of hours within a day and just like don't work or go work somewhere else. Something that I did this week, which I don't a lot do, is I actually switched a lot of my office work to 5:45 a.m. So I did 5:45 a.m. until 8:45 a.m.
That does not mean the phone rings at 6 a.m.
I mean, hell, if somebody wants to call me and they want to do business, I'd answer it. But the whole point is like at that point, it gave me enough quiet time to be able to get through whatever I needed to get through, and then it opened the gates. I actually change my environment as well as my hours pretty often, right? Because I wear multiple different hats. You do as well. Like sometimes you'll be out on the back patio or somewhere with whiskey or so forth. But I think it's important for you to not try and force yourself to sit at the same desk in the same hours within the same time frame. Specifically if you own a business, because a lot of times we go into business for the freedom, right?
Yep.
We go into the business for the freedom of us being able to create our own hours or set our own environment. And I'm not saying don't get your stuff done. You have to get your stuff done, right? At least if you've committed that to other people.
Right. But if you can, in the middle of the day, if your job allows it and the rest of your schedule allows it, if you can take an hour and even just take a break for an hour, you know,
makes a difference.
Working for yourself generally, you know, for us, for example, generally we don't go out to lunch. When we're working. Either it's fast food coming in or we make something here for ourselves.
Unless, confession time, unless we are both procrastinating the F out of everything, then we go to lunch. So, we do that every once in a while.
But, you know, when...
Which we probably should go to lunch anyway.
We should at some point. But, you know, when working for somebody else, I remember I would go to lunch. I would take that hour break. Break up the whole day, you know. So if you can afford to do it, if your schedule allows you to do it, take that hour, take 2 hours, take a break, go take a nap.
I think even if you feel like, I love naps. I think even if you feel like you can't afford it, find a way to do it. It'll help you creativity-wise. It'll help you project-wise. If you're in charge of your sales, it'll definitely help with sales. I'll tell you that. But yeah, being okay with switching stuff around, especially with the seasons changing, right? So I don't know why as business owners we do that. We might have been in corporate and we had a lunch hour, and then all of a sudden we go into business. We're like, oh, we don't need lunch. Oh, we don't need this.
Breakfast,
oh,
I'll eat at the office. Dinner,
you need
don't worry
breaks.
about it.
You need lunch. You need time. You need to be able to process that. One of my good friends who actually owns a business himself, he always retells me the story of owning a business is like a marathon, not a sprint. So like making sure that you take those small little breaks actually can help your business substantially, especially in the long run.
Definitely.
So, let's see. What other things did you have come up this week in your world? Anything at all?
No, absolutely not.
No.
No, I've been so focused on the Google stuff that went on, the amount of links that have dropped from websites and how that's affecting people. That's been my primary focus all this week. I've got a handful of issues that I've dealt with between hosting companies and sitting on a phone waiting on support to pick up the phone because they don't offer a ticket system.
I hear him yelling in the back. It's funny.
Yeah, that drives me crazy. But
it does.
you know,
it does.
When I don't have a say in the issue because the client is using them for a hosting company.
Right.
And it is what it is. So I just have to sit there for 40 minutes and
Gotta
wait.
figure it out.
So
Gotta figure it out.
beyond that, I mean, really, I've just been focused on the other stuff. Been doing way too much research on cameras and video equipment and watching just
Figuring out next
hours and
steps.
hours and
Yeah.
hours of YouTube, which is awesome because that's an angle that I'd love to explore more is the YouTube end of things.
Yeah.
But
We're getting there. We're getting there.
yeah, for right now, no, nothing crazy is happening for me. The weather was crap earlier. That's lightened up again right now. So
Yeah.
give me another hour here and then I'll be on the back deck with a cigar.
So your favorite season's
Wait out
coming.
there.
Your
That's gonna
favorite
turn off.
season's coming.
Yes, yeah. St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner.
No, I was saying Christmas. So
Christmas,
here's the
yeah.
deal: is if you sell a product that is focused around Christmas, or you're selling
Gifts.
within that time frame, now is the time to start your organic SEO. If you're going to start it, you could simply start small, right? So like let people know about you, maybe start blog content, so forth, of just communicating what you offer, how you offer it, and what makes you different.
Yeah, get those ideas into people's heads, especially before Thanksgiving rolls around.
Right.
By Thanksgiving, all the shopping is pretty much done.
Yeah,
or at
unless
least
you get the
ideas.
last minute. I would say by Thanksgiving, the researching's done.
Yes, that's
for
what
sure.
I mean.
Yeah.
So that end of things is kind of squared.
Right.
So you've got September right now we're rolling into. So you've got October.
Right.
You should be able to get 2 newsletters out in
Right.
that time period,
Yeah.
if that's your preferred method. Facebook, of course.
Yeah.
Use it. I mean, get the
It's good.
information out, especially as we roll in towards Christmas. And as you said, from the organic,
Yeah.
if you've not already got a plan and working on it, you may have missed the window.
Yep.
Or you're running up towards a deadline of missing that window. So
Yep.
within the next 2 weeks, I think the Christmas season is pretty much closed on
Yeah,
SEO.
I mean,
No.
kind of not.
From
I mean,
pay-per-click
yeah.
end of things
Yeah.
and from the stuff you can do at your website. Again, the SEO end of things, we're 2 months ahead of whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that still gives us October, I guess.
It does. It
You got
does.
30 days.
That's the accountability. Well, hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great holiday weekend. Maybe recharge your batteries or get a lot of work produced out, right? Like that's your 2 options.
Take
or
a nap.
something in between. Who knows?
Send the kids away.
Different strokes, different folks, right? All right, cool. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you 2:30 next Friday for
Yep.
another weekly recap. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below and we will get those addressed, as well as if you have any feedback regarding what you've loved about these weekly recaps, go ahead and put a comment or like and share our video so other people can get access to it as well.
Yep.
So with that, we are signing off and have a great day.
You forgot what weekend it is.
I know, I forget my
Do you know
days
what the
all
holiday
day.
is?
Yeah, it's my birthday holiday.
Birthday holiday.
All right,
There
see you later. Bye.
go. Guys.